You walk into a room. Before you even pull out a chair or shake a hand, the strangers inside have already calculated your intelligence, your trustworthiness, and your competence. It takes exactly 7 seconds. This illustrates psychologist Albert Mehrabian's communication rule. We assume we evaluate people based on their actual merits, their track record, and the precise content of what they say. The data proves otherwise. Who gets promoted, who gets funded, and who gets trusted is largely determined by a deeply ingrained subconscious glitch in human processing. Because society operates entirely around this glitch, leaving your first impressions to chance is a losing strategy. To control how the world reacts to you, you have to learn how to manually override the system. The mechanics of this flaw were documented over a century ago by psychologist Edward Thorndike. He published his findings in his 1920 paper, A Constant Error in Psychological Ratings. Thorndike designed an experiment with military commanders. He instructed these officers to evaluate their soldiers on a strict list of independent traits, things like physique, intellect, and leadership skills. They were ordered to score each quality completely independently. The results revealed a glaring anomaly. The commanders were completely incapable of analyzing these traits separately from one another. If a soldier happened to be physically fit or simply kept a neat uniform, the commander automatically scored him highly in intelligence and loyalty. There was zero objective evidence to support these traits, yet the high marks appeared across the board. Human perception simply cannot isolate individual variables. A single dominant feature subconsciously infects the judgment of a person's entire character. There is a biological reason for this. The human brain has limited processing capacity. To survive, it cannot consciously analyze thousands of inputs every second, so it relies on mental shortcuts known as heuristics. When you meet someone new, these heuristics rapidly sort the person into pre-packaged mental categories called schemas. Doing this saves the brain enormous amounts of cognitive energy. This shortcut is the halo effect. One positive quality casts a glow, instantly triggering a chain reaction that grants unearned positive traits. The inverse is the horn effect. A negative trait acts as a taint, rapidly darkening all subsequent perception. Let's apply this to a modern setting. Imagine a highly qualified candidate with a stellar resume. On the day of her job interview, she hits unexpected traffic and walks into the office exactly 5 minutes late. That single negative input triggers the horn effect. The interviewer subconsciously brands the candidate as lazy and disorganized, effectively ignoring her actual credentials entirely. The brain's relentless demand for cognitive efficiency completely sacrifices objective accuracy. It punishes the highly competent who make a slight misstep and heavily rewards the superficially attractive. Once that 7-second impression locks in, another cognitive trap takes over: confirmation bias. That initial judgment becomes a permanent mental filter. The observer's brain will actively reject dissonant information, meaning any new facts that contradict that first snap judgment are ignored. This makes a bad first impression nearly impossible to reverse, regardless of your actual performance later on. But this predictable flaw is exactly what makes the system exploitable. By intentionally hacking the 55% visual and 38% vocal inputs, you force the observer's brain to automatically load a high-value schema. You execute this hack through specific, manual triggers: perfectly engineered posture, immaculate, precise grooming, deliberate, unbroken eye contact, a carefully calibrated vocal tone. Because this shortcut is universal, the stakes scale. In studies of major elections, the candidate perceived as most attractive, a purely visual heuristic, won the popular vote in almost every instance. Brands leverage this same glitch. If you like a single trait of a product, your brain automatically grants quality status to everything else they sell. In a world forced to process information this quickly, we rarely react to the substance of a person or a brand. We react to the signals they send. Type "unlocked" in the comments below if you're ready to start spotting these shortcuts in your own life. Be sure to subscribe to Mind Unlock today.